Okay, ready? All right. Ready? Join palms. Bow. The four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. Good evening to you all. We're going to continue on with Daoxin, the fourth patriarch. We really didn't get too far with him simply because we were talking about a few other things that were kind of pertinent to him. And I'm kind of using him as a manner in which we can study and meditate, because this is where all of a sudden Daoxin is the first one that has a lot of material, and he has material about how to practice meditation, which is good. We started last week, and I want to end up where we started last week. And what this class is going to be part about Daoxin, but it's also going to be part of how to meditate by using the Chan method for meditation, and I would say by using the correct Chan method of meditation. And so he started by this titled portion called Abandoning the Body. And again, this came from the Dongam Caves. So it was fairly new in terms of what Daoxin had written. So this is a real treat for us to have this. And he said the method of abandoning the body consists first in meditating on emptiness, whereby the conscious mind is emptied. Let the mind, together with its world, be quieted down to a perfect state of tranquility. Let thought be cast in the mystery of quietude, so that in mind is kept from wandering from one thing to another. When the mind is tranquilized in the deepest abode, its entanglements are cut asunder. The mind in the absolute purity is like the void itself. Now, we went over this quite well in the last class, but I wanted to use this as our starting point because it's so deep, and I really recommend that you try to look at this some more. This is actually coming from the Shaolin Temple mi.org, and in reference to Daoxin, the fourth patriarch. And it's something that I don't want to go. Oh, thank you. There you have it right there. I don't want to go over it again, although we could do that and you probably wouldn't remember what we said the last time or find it a little bit deeper. But I wanted to use this as a starting point as to this idea of emptiness and quietude, and this mystery of quietude that it talks about, and this absolute, the mind is in its absolute purity, like the void itself. Now, all of these things they talk about, they're fine, but the problem is that they're not concepts. It is a pointing to something which is mind itself, and as a result, it's something that we have to practice putting down the illusory mind or the ego, which is not easy because we've become very adept of having this extra layer of information that is actually not necessary for us to live our lives. And we still can use this body. We can still call it Gilbert or your name. But the difference is that you don't have to attach to it and the myriad of mental impressions and sensations, which generally causes trouble. And even if there is that one moment that we call quietude, which is just a perfect moment where things are fine. The next moment can turn around and be bad. Why is that one moment a good moment? Because it's not a bad moment. But in mind sees things in a liberated way, in which there is good and bad moments just simply because of causes and conditions, but it does not define the mind itself. When we sit to meditate, what we're doing is we're allowing the body to settle, allowing the mind to settle. We don't purge the mind from thought. We don't seek for enlightenment. We just sit. That's not easy for us to do, because when we sit, it's like we're sitting next to a Coca-Cola bottle that you just shook up and opened the cap, and there's all this fizzing coming out, fizzing, 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 all of these different thoughts that are arising in mind, and they occlude our tranquility. We can't stop it. We tried to stop it. We can even put our hand on the top of the bottle, but when we let it go, it starts fizzing again. This is the frustration in terms of meditation, and this is a dead giveaway that you're doing meditation wrong. Let me repeat that in case you didn't get this. You are doing meditation wrong. From the very beginning, you're doing it wrong. I never taught you that. I never taught you to look at thoughts, to attach to them, to do anything. I just simply said contemplate mind. Contemplating mind is there, not to the exclusion of appearances within mind. Contemplating mind is not like the sculpture of Rodin of the thinking man that's sitting there like that thinking. That's not contemplation. Some people may think that that's contemplation. Where did I come from? What about my navel? And you're kind of wondering about that. And I think I recently wrote that some of you, look at your navel and begin to wonder where your mother is. This is the wrong way to do things. We don't see things in the right way. So when we meditate, we mess it all up from the very beginning. From the very beginning. And you do it every single time you sit to meditate. When you meditate, and you really meditate well, what liberation. This one thought for 10,000 years. There's no need to look at the clock, no need to wonder they're going to serve for breakfast. There's no need to worry about the body or what's going on at work. You just simply sit. And what do you see? Interesting. What do you see with this mind of contemplation? The same thing that you see without the mind of contemplation. The only difference is you do not take it to be real. You are just seeing images like a kaleidoscope arising in mind. And if you twist the kaleidoscope and twist it this way, you see all sorts of flowers coming up and sparklers and different colors. But you don't become enamored with the changes. You just see that as just this is the way it is. It's constantly changing. This is a given before you sit down. And this is why I've told you before, it's just like that movie, actually still popular. You can still see it on Netflix and some of the other ones, called Taken, where this man who was a former secret agent, and he's talking to his daughter who's hiding under the bed. And these people are looking for her, and he's telling her, I need to tell you that in a few moments you're going to be taken, and this is what you should do. And so every time when you sit to meditate, you're going to be taken. Until you get this perfectly right, you're going to be taken. The difference is that you know when you're taken what to do, how to come back, how to recognize.
Everybody. Hey, just a second.
We have
Listen, Walter.
Okay, good, thank you. In any case, I haven't had one of those for a long time. But in any case, when you're taken, just like that little annoyance right there, what happens is that you now are back into the dream. You're clinging sequentially to whatever the thought stream is. But when you realize that this is the adeptness of your practice, then you simply come back. Where do you come back to? You just come back to mind. The problem with us is that we are grasping and we're looking for mind. And it's always there. It's always there. We miss that. But we thinking that we're going to run into it. Who are you? Well, a mind. Really? I never met you before because you were meditating in the wrong way. How could you run into me? Oh, are you really mine? No, I'm just an illusion that you think is mine. You got trapped again. And so when you see things in this way, it doesn't work. We just have to let go of all conceptions. When we let go of the conceptions and the attachments, we're now operating partially outside the dream. We know that we are sitting in the dream and mind is there, but mind can come in and out of the dream. You cannot. Contemplate that. You cannot get out of this dream. You imagine you floating around in mind, and you go, Michael, where are you? Well, my computations enable me to escape the dream. And where are you? What are you doing? You can't be out here. You can't. It doesn't follow. But we don't understand this. We don't understand how to properly meditate. So what are we doing? We're sitting, we're counting the breath, reciting the Buddha's name, using our Huatou, just sitting. Sitting doing what? Either watching the back of our eyelids or movies. We don't know how to disengage the mind. By disengaging the mind does not mean that you rip the illusions out of mind or send them scurrying away. Disengaging mind is the gnosis of mind, the knowing of mind, precisely why these thoughts are arising in mind. I guess Daoxin's going to have to take a rest for a while. But in any case, as we're going through this, this is what he wants to tell you is essentially, you just simply sit. As simple as sitting. No thinking. Mind is there. All these tantalizing tidbits, like a smorgasbord of emotions. Oh, I want to go there. I want the new car. I want a purse. I want a puppy. I want somebody to hold. All of these things coming up. I don't want to pay that bill. I don't have the money to pay that bill. I don't like my job. I want to quit. I want to retire. I want to do something else. All these things coming up in the mind. I. We don't know how to disengage it, even to the point of, I'm doing very well. I don't have any thoughts. This is so wonderful. I'm free. No. Who's talking? Who's talking? You just have to let it go. When you sit, you just sit. That's why they call it mo chao in Chinese. Just sitting. You just sit. There's nothing else to do. Of course, if you were sitting on a park bench, there will be many things coming by. Could be somebody selling balloons, a peanut vendor, couples holding hands, two old people walking by, somebody walking their dog, another person jogging. We just let it go. It's natural because you're sitting in a park. Of course, all of these things are going to happen. You just sit. We can't do that. We always want to get in that and mix. Oh, look at that person. I like the shoes that they're running shoes. I wonder if I could get some like that. What happened to just sitting? All of a sudden now you're running along with the person and creating a desire. We don't know how to disengage. Disengaging doesn't mean that we have to make everything disappear. Don't ever think that way. Sometimes things might disappear if you're practicing very well, but it isn't an indication that you're practicing in a great way. All you've got to do is sit. When you meditate, you are aware of these things that are coming up in mind. They're coming up in nowhere but mind. Why? You created them. They were created by mind. And so they're coming up. And so you see things, the more that you reach towards them, the more that you think about them, then the more they will come up. You are giving them mind attention. You are giving them a fertile ground to grow and to mess your meditation up. You do that. You do that. You don't know that. And you think I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. Isn't that a song? Anyway, but in any case, you are doing that. Who is you? In my mind work form, I'm always asking, who is this? Who is this person? When the people say, well, we need to do this, or I need to do that. Who's that? Exactly. Who is that? Every time we write something like that, we're certifying that this illusory ego needs something. It needs knowledge. It needs placating. It needs a pacifier. Mind work is not in this way. Mind work is very simple. We just sit on the bench. Everything's going by, and little by little, the mind clarifies and begins to, by its own purification, know precisely why something is arising in mind. It doesn't come up by accident. You put it there. You put what you think is you in there as well. If we do not understand this, how can we practice? If we cannot understand this esoteric, we're truly fooling ourselves in meditation, hoping that one day the Buddha is going to walk by. And then what are you going to say? Mr. Buddha, can you tell me what is real and what is not real? Do you remember when they said, Master Ling Chi said, don't ask a man of the Tao about the way. So when you practice and you sit in meditation, do it right. It's easy to do wrong. If you're thinking you're doing it wrong, you just simply sit. Mind will take care of the rest. You're sitting in awareness. You're not sitting in a dark cave. You're aware of precisely what is arising. And as you begin to quiet the mind, you'll realize on the periphery of the perception of the mind are these millions of little ideas, just like that. It's the only way I can explain it. They're just there. And it's as if some coach says, hey, you, into the game. There goes the, how am I going to pay the debt? Or how I'm going to pay the credit card? No, that was one go straight in. It's like a ballistic missile going straight to the heart of the mind, to the center of the observation of the mind. Others are just there, just waiting their time. Maybe the jelly donut's there. Some infatuation that you have is there just waiting. But as you start doing it, these start to slow down, they recede. The images in the mind, in turn, also slow down, where we talk about mind center. All these others, they're there, and they're kind of what we call associative factors or associative conditions. If one thing goes in, if the donut goes in, the lemon meringue pie may not be too far behind because it's associate factor of something sweet. And so we are seeing that. And then what else could come up? Guilt and sadness because you are so weak. All of these come in. And after a while, you're like a overburdened donkey walking around. How many of you these days are an overburdened donkey walking around carrying all your woes with you? At least we have an honest overworked donkey. Wendy, thank you. But she knows what I mean. You carry all the stuff with you all the time. You want to see sadness? Look at this one. This is a really good sadness one. No, I crashed my new car. Or this person left me. That's even bigger sadness. You want to see joy? I got first prize, in whatever it is, whatever things are happening. And you just carry all this stuff and you think that it defines you, but it doesn't. It shackles you. You're shackled by all of these impressions, these mental impressions, these emotions, these memories that come up. It is why the patriarchs were saying to silence your mind. Who binds you? Confess your illness. Where is this illness? They're looking at it and looking directly at causes and conditions, but realizing there's no person there. This is not easy for us because we have to straddle between the idea of samsaric knowing, which I have to talk to you about, but the other side, which is jump into the void. And you go, I don't even know where to find the void. I don't know. How am I going to do it? I keep jumping up and down, hoping that I'll go through the floor. It is not in this way. It's just in this moment is the void. What is the void? Just mind. It's not a void like something that forgot the scientific or the science fiction writer that wrote The Fog. It's not like a fog that you go into. You just simply are aware. It's like the opposite, that everything is there. And even if you have this kind of a realization, the thoughts are not going to stop. Even if you jump off the moving carousel, the carousel keeps moving and circling and circling and circling. Eventually, it'll slow down and stop. But that may take time. Sometimes it's an instant, a snap of the fingers. But saying this, I run the risk of danger of telling you something that now you're starting to look for. Was that what I thought it was? A snap of the fingers? Am I free? There's a danger there of talking about these things. Some masters say, you open your mouth and you move farther from it. So the danger is for me to open my mouth and risk moving you farther from it, unless I present it in a way which is presenting as close of the truth as possible. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that. They just want to know how to be good. It's okay. They can do that. Maybe next lifetime they'll have another chance. But in this lifetime, you're close. You're really, really close. Maybe the closest you've been. Sometimes people say, oh, well, I was reading online some of these Buddhist forums online that they're really, really bad. Sometimes you look at them, and I'm just like looking at ones like I won't say the name of it because probably somebody's going to get hurt if I say it, but just common forums that are online that are attached to something, and that somebody would have said it or rhymes with that. And they're talking about these things and they're saying, well, they are asking, is there enlightenment? I'm going, oh my God, here it comes. And here comes all these people talking about enlightenment. Oh. And one was saying, well, you could become enlightened, but it could take you thousands of lifetimes to get there. And what if this is the last lifetime? What if? You should treat it in this way, that this is it. So you don't have this defeatist attitude, where you're marking it off and go, no, I only have like 999,000 more lifetimes before I can get to the first level. Please don't think that way. Think in just this moment. What is stopping? What is stopping that from happening? You can do this. Maybe all of you collectively have practiced for so many lifetimes that this is the chance that you can do that. If a Roman Catholic Mexican can get this close, certainly you can get this close. Okay. You all have a chance, even the Germans. Schiffer used to kind of poke fun at that because sometimes they're very, very analytical with everything. And but in any case, I didn't mean that as a bad thing. I'm encouraging you to practice, and so we just need to relax a little bit more. I've already taught you all of the elements of meditation, but you have to set into motion the insight, use the vipassana side. You can't just simply sit there on the samsaric side and just stop the world. The vipassana side, the insight or the illumination, it comes naturally on its own. You do not have to throw a bunch of things, ingredients in to make it. You just have to have the proper elements in place to let the mind liberate itself. The mind is already liberated, but it in this part, which is very difficult for us, very mysterious for us to understand, with this particular corner of the mind, it has to let go. And so when we are meditating, we let go, but we let go of certain things only. We don't let go. We don't have to let go of reality. We don't have to let go of appearances. The appearances are naturally appearing. We don't have to make the mind blank. When we contemplate, the mind is opposite of blank. The mind is in a higher state of awareness. And I even hesitate to call it a state. It's not really a state. It is just the higher awareness of mind, which is naturally there. Now, I say higher because it can be a gradual approach or it can be instantaneous. But generally, if it's instantaneous, it will last a very short while. But it's still there. But we don't imagine this. There's nothing to imagine. And so when we do it in the right way, it will work. So let's go back to Daoxin for a moment and see if this fits with what he was saying. When you're sitting in meditation, watch carefully to know when your consciousness starts to move. Consciousness is always moving and flowing. According to its coming and goings, we must all be aware of it. It is like Hui Ning later on, where he's talking about that he has thousands of thoughts a day. And so the same way here, Daoxin is saying it's always moving. Use the wisdom of a diamond to control and rule it, since just like a plant, there is nothing to know. So this kind of an idea of knowing of mind is a, how would you say, a different definition of knowing than what we normally have. Knowing, we have this knowing of us like book learning. I read this, now I know this. Whereas this other knowing comes from the very fact that the mind is the Dharmakaya. How could it not know its own body? It's different. It's a different way of looking at things. To know that there's nothing to know is the wisdom to know everything. Now, that's a Chan saying if I've ever heard one. That to know there is nothing to know is the wisdom to know everything. We have to let go of even the idea of knowledge, and because it's conceptual, it's conditioned. We want to access mind that is omniscient, it's all-knowing. instantaneously. It does not come out like a ticker tape, like in the old days in the 20s when they could read things like that, or on your computer. It is just there right now and now again. So we can't really call it knowing as a sentient being knows things or acquires things. It is just simply the body of the Buddha. This is the Dharma gate of one form of a bodhisattva. So they're saying this is how a bodhisattva enters of this one form. What is the one form? Mind. It's just mind. There's nothing else. Conceptual, conditional, all of these things, phenomenal, they're not separate from mind. Mind knows them. But we use the opposite end of the telescope to look at things, and so everything appears so far away from us. When we use the right end, everything becomes very, very clear, just like use the wisdom of a diamond to control, looking through the clarity of a diamond. And it cuts through all illusions. It's so hard, it can stand up to everything. Imagine if the mind was like copper, it would be all scratched up. It would be all malleable, or like gold even. It couldn't stand up. But to a diamond, it cuts through everything. Why? Because it is the noumenon. It is there. It is not separate from the phenomena. This we don't understand. We try to understand it, conceptualize about it, but you've got to let it go. You're not going to know from this side. Even if you know from this side, or you talk about it, the ones that know and talk about it know that what they're talking about is not really it. But they nevertheless have to talk about it for the benefit of others until the other people realize there's nothing to know. What kind of a person is a Chan master? Daoxin said, someone who is not disturbed either by chaos or serenity is a person with the know-how of good Chan practice. When one always dwells in tranquility, the mind perishes. So if you're just sitting there going, oh, this just feels so good, and then boom, the mind's gone. It's not necessarily that it's gone, but it's just got pushed into this dark cave. Nothing's happening. The lights are not on at all. But if you are always in a state of discernment, then the mind scatters chaotically. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Oh my gosh, I can't keep up with everything that's happening. Ever had one of those days? And they go, and here's this, and here's that. Oh, by the way, did you remember to do that? No, I forgot. And then you go, wake up, wake up. What? It was just a dream. Huh? You mean, I used to have dreams where I would dream that I was still in college, but I forgot to go to school. Not only that, but I forgot to buy the books, and I didn't even know where the test was at. It was all a dream. It seems so real. These kinds of things. I don't know if anybody's ever had those kinds of dreams, but they went on for such a long time. Why? Because I was always worried about things like that. I was the kind that would have all my pens all ready the next day, have everything ready to go. Except for the day that I didn't put batteries in my accounting class, calculator. That was a real dream, bad dream. Okay. So we get to the Lotus Sutra says, the Buddha himself dwells in the great vehicle. The power of meditation and wisdom gives remarkable splendor to the dharmas which he has acquired. These he uses to save all beings. So this is the way that we practice. This is the Dharma gate of the one form of bodhisattva, is a way of looking at it and using all of these for the benefit to save all beings, albeit that they're illusory, but this is how it works. We cannot know the deepness of this wisdom, because this wisdom is beyond us. But once we begin to experience it, we have an idea. How can we be enlightened to the nature of things and our mind attain lucid purity? So he's saying, well, how do you become enlightened to the self-nature of mind? Neither by trying to meditate on the Buddha, nor trying to grab hold of the mind, nor be seeing the mind, nor analyzing the mind, nor by reflection, nor by discernment, nor by dispersing confusion, but through identification with the natural rhythm of things. Wow. Wow. He's like telling you, put down all your school books, because I'm going to tell you how to do this right. He's telling you, put down everything. This is what I'm saying to you. When you are meditating, you just meditate. You just simply meditate, but you're not meditating saying, I am meditating. You're just sitting. And as you're sitting, you're in the natural order of things, the natural rhythm of it. What is the natural rhythm of it? Is pratika samapada, causes and conditions never fail. So you're going to see all this stuff floating around you. Some things are good, some things are bad. Some things try to get in through luring you to look at them. Look at me, I'm a love interest. Or this one, look at me, I'm a bill. Or an ogre at work, or whatever. And they're just floating there. And this is just a natural rhythm that you see that's coming up. It's appearing there perfectly. You're seeing the waves on the ocean of this karmic ocean. But you are in samadhi. Your mind is not moving to these things. It is aware of them and aware that they're rising. And then later on is aware, why exactly is this one appearing at this point in time? Because it bugs you the most, or it attracts you the most. So those get priority. They go right to the front of the line and they can get in. Why? Because you let them in. Those are the ones that scare you or lure you, that you want this, you want that. And so you see that. But when you understand that there's this rhythm, it's like you just go in and you're going to meditate and you just jump into a hot tub and you're just there. And the waves are moving around you like this, but you're just sitting. You don't have to do anything. Does anybody do anything in a hot tub? I'd say most of the time, I'm not talking about any other physical activities, but most of the time, people are just sitting there in the hot tub. Maybe every once in a while, a bubble will appear on the surface, but hopefully that's from the vents. But we just stay. We just stay there. You don't have to do anything. But we always engage the thoughts that arise in the mind. You must be disciplined enough to let all of that go. You don't have to cast it out. You just have to relax the mind. And so he's telling you, you don't look at the mind, you don't reflect, you don't try to create anything in the mind. Mind, that's it. Try that and you will see that it works. Finally, abiding in one soul purity, the mind spontaneously becomes lucid and pure. Spontaneously becoming lucid and pure. This is a realization. In that moment, there is a realization. I'm not going to talk about enlightenment. I'm not going to talk about awakening, but there's just a realization that the mind is spontaneous and pure the way it is. We and our notion of clinging to an ego, a life and being and a personality defile it. But mind is not in this way. Some people can see clearly that the mind is lucid and pure like a bright mirror. Some need a year of practice and then the mind becomes lucid and pure. Others need 3 or 5 years and then the mind is lucid and clear. I was listening to somebody today where there's a class, a Dharma class that's going on, and I think they're in the 2nd year, and they're still learning how to move around the Chan Hall and how to do the rules of Chan in those kinds of situations and things. And I said to the person, well, they haven't learned anything about mind. Because, well, hopefully we might begin to talk about mind in the 3rd year. And I'm going, oh, no, from the beginning, we talk about mind. What else is there? Everything else will make sense. You don't talk to people about rules. When there's a realization, the rules are natural. Of course, we have to follow the rules or people will bump into each other when they're exiting the Chan Hall. So we try to introduce people to the mind. No, self, this is mine. I don't see it. Yes, you don't see it. It sees you. Okay, so we don't want to wait around for 5 years to do this, or even 5 years to talk about it. Or some can attain enlightenment by being taught by someone else. The Nirvana Sutra says the nature of the mind of beings is like a pearl which falls into the water. The water is muddy, so the pearl becomes hidden. When the water is pure, the pearl is revealed. In this way, I would cut straight to it and say that there was never any muddy water separate from mind. It is the clarity of mind to understand appearances. So how could one say that this was sacred or profane? It just is. It is just the suchness. And this is the way that we see things. One of my students today was talking and she just kept saying, and this is such, meaning this is suchness. And she was kind of on a riding a wave of Dharma, of this knowing from the other side, which was very good to see. No, she's kind of, her writing is a little bit more awkward, but I understood what she was saying. And so it's something that cannot be articulated, but she's trying to articulate it. But it's just in this way. And when we sit in meditation, it is just a suchness in meditation that in how we sit. So it says, therefore, we should know that there are 4 kinds of students in Buddhism. Those who do practice, have understanding, attain enlightenment, are the highest group. Those who do not practice, but have understanding and attain enlightenment, are the middle group. It's much harder to do that just simply with understanding. And those who do practice and have understanding but have not attained enlightenment is the lower group. And those who neither practice nor have understanding nor have attained enlightenment are in the lowest group. And I'm not going to say, put yourself wherever you are because I want you to be in the first group. The moment we are going to begin practice, how should we contemplate? So the moment that we begin practice, how should we contemplate? And I love his response. This is a refrain of what he said before. We must identify with the natural rhythm of things. You plant a melon seed, you get a melon. It is hot in summer, cold in winter. In March, the wind blows. Now, with our climate change, I don't know how steady that's going to be, but we're definitely upsetting the natural rhythm of things. But in any case, that's the natural rhythm. When we start messing with the environment, things will change. But everything we see is in a natural rhythm, naturally appearing. Somebody is mad. Okay, naturally that person is mad. Yesterday they were mad. The day before they were mad. Everything bugs them. It's natural. You could be even talking about yourself. Or frightened, fearful, envious. Whatever it is, we see things as they are and we see what's being put in. And so it's not a surprise. This is so important for us to understand into dealing with relationships with people. If we fight with people, they will be our enemy. If we don't fight with them, we try to stay out of their way, and then sometimes they can become our friend. But if we fight, for sure, they are going to be our enemy. And then he says, should we face west or not? So some people say, in the old day, even in this day, people would say, when you sit to meditate, you have to face the west, because that's towards the Western Pure Land. And so you sit there and do that. But you go, well, wait, aren't we on a round globe? So exactly where is this Pure Land? It's like we'll never get there. So Daoxin said, if we know the original mind neither is born nor dies, but ultimately pure and is identical to the Pure Land, then it is not necessary to face towards the west. The Huanyan Jing says, unlimited kalpas of time are contained in a single moment. A single moment contains unlimited kalpas. Therefore, you should know that a single place contains the unlimited quantity of places, and the unlimited quantity of places is one place. This is very, very interesting because, wow, that sounds cool. That's so Chan. What does it mean? I don't know. You should contemplate. If you contemplate, it will come to you. The Buddha causes beings who have dull capacity to face toward the west. And does not teach people with keen abilities, but does not teach keen abilities to do so. So you don't have to do those things, to do that. If you remember, there was a story of the Buddha and the one of his disciples who could not remember anything. And because of this, the Buddha gave him a broom and said, sweep, sweep, sweep. And doing the simple thing, he was able to transcend. Not bad. It's a good story. And And the thing was is that he was able to make it so even the lowest person of ability has a chance to gain some insight, and very, very quickly. Bodhisattva who have profound practice enter the stream of birth and death in order to save beings, yet do not drown in desire. If you have the view that beings are in samsara and I'm able to save them, and that these beings are capable of being saved, then you are not to be called a bodhisattva. Let me repeat this to you, because you go, well, wait a second, Gilbert, what are you saying? Just exactly what are you saying here? What is this? Did I hear what you said? If you have the view that beings in samsara and I am able to save them, and these beings are capable of being saved, then you are not to be called a bodhisattva. Why? This is so simple, like falling off a bed. Nobody? Because there's just mine. No you or me. You agree with that? Yes, Santa?
Because there's nothing to attain.
There's nothing to attain. But what about these beings in samsara?
The bodhisattva, knowing that there is no one to save, saves sentient beings.
They're illusory beings. They're created by mind. They are not mind per se, but they're mind by virtue of the fact that they appear in mind, created by mind, but they're phenomenal, not the noumenon, not the base. What we want to do is contact or be absorbed by the base. And in doing so, we don't have to eliminate the sentient beings because they're just simply a dream. We see them for what they are. And the more that we can go back into the dream and essentially remove this false identity, then the more the mind is cleaned. It's like going to your front entryway and sweeping it. So you're just sweeping, keeping it clean, right? It's natural you want to do that because you don't want to track all that dirt into your house. So I'm not saying sentient beings are dirt, but they are an appearance. They're an illusory appearance. And so we see that as something that creates an obstruction, creates a perpetration of this dream that sometimes we think is good, but I would say more often than not, we think it is not. Okay, just real quickly. Saving beings is similar to saving the empty sky. How could the sky have ever come or gone? The Diamond Sutra says, as for an infinite number of beings who have been saved, in fact, there are no beings who have been saved. As a whole, bodhisattvas of the first stage at the beginning have the realization that all things are empty. Later on, they obtain the realization that all things are not empty, which is identical to the wisdom of non-discrimination. The Heart Sutra says form is identical to emptiness. It is not because form is eliminated. It is not because form is eliminated. This is very, very important. Then there is emptiness. The nature of form is emptiness. And again, we should come up with a different word than the word emptiness, because it's a misnomer. It's more all-inclusive. It's a component of mind.
Gilbert, it's very funny. But just before the class started, I was thinking that a retreat is an all-inclusive resort. It's like going to an all-inclusive resort.
Yes. Yeah, I think that that's a good way of saying it. I think we'll stop there. I may continue on with this and keep working on the meditation. I was hoping we could meditate tonight, but I think we'll leave it for the next one. I'm hoping that what I said today will penetrate, and you'll begin to do that. I hope that you have an opportunity to put this into meditation, okay, and just meditate in the manner in which I've been telling you. And I think that will help you a lot. It's going to advance your meditation, because you're not going to be reaching for anything or pushing anything out. You're just going to be just sitting there. And there's no you sitting there. It's just, imagine there's no you, no me. Oh, it sounds like John Lennon's song, Imagine. But it is in this way that just imagine that there's nothing there. No heaven or hell, there. It's just this way. Timeless, spaceless. It is that easy. It is that easy. All you have to do is just sit. Just sit. Don't think. Don't reach. Don't create a concept. Just sit. Just sit. That's it. You're going to go, this is too easy. That's what I've been telling you all along. Okay, we'll finish for tonight, and you can ask me questions. I kind of went a little bit over time, but I think it was necessary. Okay, questions? Lewis.
Gilbert, thank you for your talk, and enjoyed it. But I think when you mentioned the counting of breath in Huatou, and it seemed to me that what you're talking about is checking out the method that many of us have been using for years. And perhaps it's a crutch, or maybe like shoes on a hot pavement. But after years and years practicing with the Huatou, I find the idea of just sitting and forgetting everything else is not something that comes very easy to my understanding.
Let me ask you a question. If you look down to your feet and you realize that you are wearing your shoes on the wrong feet, what would you do?
Switch them.
You would follow the natural rhythm of things and say, hey, if I put them this way, my feet don't hurt. So it's the self that's put in this erroneous time, and it's going, you mean I wasn't doing it right? So why should I change? I mean, I've been doing it this way. That means that everything that I did before was a waste of time. So I'm not going to change, because otherwise I will confirm that what I did before was a waste of time. It wasn't a waste of time, but you didn't advance as well as you could have listening to it. So it would be a fool's venture to keep wearing your shoes on the wrong feet. Wouldn't you say that? Sorry, that's my best attorney coming out.
Yeah, I would say that, but then I've been a fool all my life, so.
And therein lies the rub, that if you do it in the right way, you'll realize that that is not your life. That's not your mind, Ananda. And if you're using a Huatou, that doesn't mean that you can't use this method. With the Huatou, all you're doing is you're saying the Huatou and then going immediately to where the new Huatou is going to come from the mind ground. And so you're just simply observing and you're aware of where this question comes from. It's the same thing. It will work. So don't say, well, I've been doing it this way for so long, and so I might as well not do it, this way, because that's the way I was taught, or that's what I've been practicing. But if it's wrong, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, please don't do that. Please. I have higher hopes for you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Suzanne, you bailed out of your question?
Actually, I was listening and absorbing what was being said and adding it to what was already there. And so it's not a question, it's an observation, and presented to you for correction. To change one's method is not negating the previous method, it is merely adding to the skill set. This has been my experience. That's all.
Yes, quite. I think you said it probably more artfully than I said it to him. But it is just an improvement on that. Just like the people that are there in my work, when I correct them and I tweak them, they're closer to a proper skill set by those corrections. And with some of you, I have to say, it's getting harder and harder for me to correct you. Okay. And so that's good news. That's good news. But that's what the goal is, to try to get this and get this honed down so we know exactly what we're doing. It's because we don't really understand the method that it had retarded our progress. So hearing that, then that works very well. Okay. Anyone else? Wendy.
Thank you. I think I've been doing it wrong also. Well, it's easy to say, but just sit there, do nothing. I kind of know I should, but I couldn't.
To know is a start. To do is even better, but little by little you can do that. You have to understand, by doing it in this way and doing it in the proper way, then what will happen is that you will have a better experience on the cushion, where you're not going to be pushed this way or pushed that way with the thoughts. When you do it right, and your whole intention when you're on that cushion is trying to keep it tuned in, then it works. It works. You have to trust me on that. But the thing is people have a defeatist attitude or a lazy attitude. Okay, I'll do this for 5 minutes, but 25 or half an hour is just too much time for me to try to not think. You go to retreat, you're not supposed to speak for a week. But when you go to retreat, you shouldn't think for a week. The whole time. Not bad. Of course you think of this, you think of that, you think of how much you're going to put in your mouth. whatever, but you don't cling to it. You're just aware of what you're doing. And this is the part that people don't understand. And that's why I really want to work on this so that people can be clear about that. This is simple. Creating an ego, a life and being, a personality, that's hard. And it's hard life to live. So you can do it. You just stay with it. I mean, you've been hearing, you've been listening, you asking questions. Those are all the things that help. Now, the only thing I cannot do is be there when you're sitting on the cushion. I can be in your ear telling you, you know, put that ice cream cone down and get back to work. But you have to do that. That's the only time I can't help you. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm curious to see if this was helpful to you or confused you more. Yes, you're back again. Suzanne?
There we go. Not to change the subject, but will there be another retreat soon?
Another retreat? Is that what you said?
Yes, either a 3-day at the Dharma Drum or another week long.
Well, I'm going to have one in, I believe it's July. Is Esther around here somewhere?
Yeah, it's on the 23rd to 30th of July.
So Santa sent you the thing. There's the information on the retreat, and that would be a good event. I'm going to give a lot to that one. Also having a DC one, if there's still space in Washington, DC, that's going to be a shorter one. And I'm going to have a Connecticut one I haven't set up yet. It's from one that was canceled when the COVID was so strong. So that one's probably coming up in the late spring or summertime as well. So coming soon your way. There's going to be some in the fall, that one in Michigan. Do you know the date for that one, Esther?
Yeah, I got to check and later I'll post it.
Say it again.
I cannot remember the other one. Let me check.
Oh, okay. So it's either October or November, I believe. So there's a lot of them coming up because of COVID. Hopefully, unless we get another spike, I'm going to be going to quite a few places. So the one that's going to be in Michigan, hopefully the people from Ohio, that's a few of you here that are from there. And Jane, I see you smiling, so make sure you go. Okay. Check and make sure what the day is and go there, because that'll be fun. And the Michigan group is always a great group to go with there. And they have a nice retreat center there. If you haven't been up there, it's worth going to. Did you get the date? No?
Yeah, Michigan is from 7th to 9th October.
Okay, so it's in October, so it'll be coming up. And I think Washington is sometime, when did I have that?
Washington is 26th to 30th October.
All right, so it comes after. So there's times for other things to squeeze in. I think they might be posted on my regular website, Riverside Chun, is it? Santa, do we have a list?
No, I was just asking Esther if she could post it in the forum.
Okay. All right. Is that where we're posting them then? All right. So we'll, on the Mind Chat forum, we'll do that. Mind Chat forum's really taken off right now, and there's a lot of discussion in there as to if you can see your original face. And I think up to almost 80 comments on that one, which is good. And it's a great one to read and follow and see these tiny little corrections that I make for the most part on some of this, and you get to see how people approach the questions and things, and again, you also see that they're still alive after they ask their questions. So don't worry about getting shot down by me in doing that. It's good when you do that, because then that means that you're that much closer to getting the practice right. Okay. Anything else? No, you guys must be tired today. Yes, Ching Meyer. Oh, look, there you are in person.
Yes. Hi, Gilbert. So regarding the meditation, in general, I like to use Mo Zhao. Most of the time, I feel that's the least energy to do that method, just sitting there. But sometimes when have some things come to mind, then I'm not. I think then I change my method. So then when that time, then I will say to I am. So then I stop saying that. Then you starting just sitting and doing like that. If I also tried Hua Tou. When I try Hua Tou, because that time when I ask that question, you say when you use Hua Tou, then I ask should just like at the beginning when you trying to focus and quiet and put your mind inward at that time. You say when you use Hua Tou should be the whole. Like if I'm doing 1 hour, then you should use that Hua Tou all the 1 hour. I find that's very kind of use a lot of energy. Just I tried it, but I feel doesn't really work well. Seems I don't know. Maybe I did not use it correctly, but I feel when you keep in your heart, just think about what I just feel kind of use a lot of energy, and I'm not sure. Maybe I did not do it right because I'm not very familiar with Hua Tou. I think works better for me just sitting there and trying not thinking about anything, just meditating.
Yeah, I think that you should just use silent elimination, Mo Chao, and if the wheels start coming off of it, just go back to counting the breath. So you can go in and out of that. But when everything is all perfectly balanced, stay in silent elimination. And then when you have more of a chance to learn about the Hua Tou method or to ask me questions at a retreat or something where I can have enough time to be able to explain it to you in detail, I think that would be more helpful. You're using the Hua Tou, but you're kind of using it in very different ways, very peculiar ways. But I think right now you're gravitating towards elimination. So I would say just do that. You won't have to generate any energy whatsoever with elimination. Just don't fall asleep, and you just stay there and follow what I was saying. Try that, in the next sittings that you have. I think you'll be very surprised how well it works for you. It's going to fit you like a glove. Okay.
When I first doing meditation, I started doing meditation about like by June, I will be doing meditation for 2 years. When I first doing meditation, and I started for a short time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and to now it's 1 hour. In general, I will do 1 hour meditation every night before I go to bed. So when I was doing meditation at first, a couple months, and I will have a lot of I will running nose and my eye just tearing. I just like tearing and yawning or burping. It's just a lot of those kind of. Then after a few months, and my nose running like a faucet, I have to go into the bathroom and to clean up, or I have to bring a lot of tissue with me when I'm doing meditation. So after a few months, then this kind of physical reaction then stopped. Then I was using a different methods, and like the Chinese Qigong, there was 6 words, sounds, and relate to your different organs. So when I started doing that at the beginning, the meditation I was say the sounds. Then I was starting doing all those, surrounding those and tearing, my eyes tearing and the yawning and the burping and all these. This is almost like I've been doing that for, I think it's close to half year. Like I was stopped, not doing any of those kind of sort of cleansing or whatever. So those kind of, is that means my body have a lot of like a negative energy and kind of a lot of waste. So then I was doing all this, and throughout, just recently I stopped. Then I gradually slowed down those kind of reactions. This can be like maybe just a few times, a little bit.
Yeah, though, I mean, a lot of what you're talking about are symptoms that arise when somebody's doing something like Qigong, you know, and then transitioning into the sitting meditation. The Qigong practice has different practices that enable people to do different things with it, but they're not necessarily there for the purpose of quieting the mind as much as manipulating the mind. And so little by little, as you wean off of that, you'll find you'll be fine. But it can happen. I mean, when I begin to speak, it's kind of funny because then my nose wants to run as well. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. And but don't worry about that. Those things will dissipate on their own. Just sit to meditate. I mean, the very fact that you haven't given up is good. And so when you're that way, there's always hope, especially when you have right view and you begin to practice in the right way. The depth of your practice, the wisdom that will arise will be very incredible. Okay, you will begin to see the world from a different viewpoint, from the viewpoint of mind. So I encourage you, just keep going. Please keep asking your questions to me, even if at the end of these sessions. Please do that, and I'll be glad to answer them. I never turn people down. Okay.
Thank you, Gilbert.
Okay. Now I have one here. Is it possible different people need different types of meditation? Oh, it went away. Go back. Where was it at?
Like she says, like we all have different kind of learning styles.
Yes, it is in this way. People, you just have to find the one that works for you. Some people, they'll be more towards recitation of the Buddha's name, or counting the breath and then segueing into sun-illumination, or doing the Huatou. You have to find the one that fits you. If you're older, then the Huatou is probably not one that you want to do. It does require a lot more energy than the sun-illumination. But you just go to the one that you feel that feels comfortable for you, and just use that. Don't always be changing your method, but if you're using sun-illumination, you can always go back to counting the breath in case you start losing your concentration, and then come back out of it into that. In the end, the Huatou and sun-illumination, they end up at the same place. And it's very interesting in that way. They just end up coming to mind. So there's no secret way or magic way or whatever. It's which way works for you. So it's a good question. Okay, any last question? You're welcome. Last question, going. I can see some of the Easterners are already nodding, ready to go to sleep. Okay, we'll finish for this. We're going to continue on with this. It doesn't matter where we're at, because all of this is Dharma training. And I want to use this as a way of talking about the practice side, of the meditation side. And I've been talking a lot of theory, and I want to go back into talking about meditation to get you ready when you go to retreats and get that part moving along. Okay, so we'll see you next week. Thank you for coming. Tell your friends to join. Amitofo. Bye-bye. See you.